Hello everybody, I'm Melissa and welcome back to Book Bar and welcome to my August mid-month wrap-up. In the first half of the month, so from August 1st through the 15th, I have read a total of 19 books. Completed, a total of 19 books. One of those was a carryover from last month. I'll talk about it when I get there. It took me ridiculously long to finish it. But if you are new here, I do 2 wrap-ups because I tend to read quite a bit of books in the month, and so it would take me way too long to talk about them all at the end of the month. So I do a mid-month and an end-of-month wrap-up. And so now you are watching the mid-month. I talk about my books in the order of how I completed them, not necessarily how I finished them, and I will also be doing a check-in on my TBR Uno game. So without further ado, let's get on into this. So the first book that I finished in the month of August was A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. This is Viola and Justin, the Duke of Gracewood. Viola is a trans woman. She was assumed dead at Waterloo. Her and Justin were best friends. Justin has been in like a downward spiral since losing his best friend. Well, Viola didn't actually die. She was able to like be reborn as her true self. And she comes back into Justin's life and they end up having this whirlwind amazing romance. It was such a fantastic story. I did read this for the Romance Takeover Readathon. I have a vlog. I will post it up here. The first like 9 books I talk about are from that vlog. So I will have a lot more in-depth details in that vlog. So go ahead and check on that. But this book just was a little long. There was like a little bit too much happening. So I gave it 4.5 stars, but I still absolutely adored it. And it was fantastic. And I want to read more from Alexis Hall. Then the next book that I finished was Sinner by Sierra Simone. This book is Zenny and Sean. It's the second book in the like priest series. Zenny is wanting to be a nun, and then like Mother Superior tells her that she needs to like experience life and like learn about like how to have sex and do all the crazy things so she can really truly make her decision that she wants to be with God. And of course she goes to her brother's best friend, the very attractive Sean Bell. I adored this. I give it 5 stars. Sean is another fantastically tortured bellboy, and I'm so excited for the next book in this series. Then the next book that I finished was Mother Road by Brie Bennett. This was one of my most anticipated reads for this year. This is Nico and Eli, and it is a road trip romance, age gap. So obviously with road trip, it's forced proximity. Nico was in an accident in Broken Records, and he then decides he's going to go on a journey on the Mother Road of Route 66, and he ends up finding Eli in his van. And things happen. There's only one bed. It's phenomenal. Grumpy Sunshine in like the most extreme way. I adored it. I gave it 4.5 stars just because I kept comparing it to Broken Records, and Broken Records is like an all-time fave, and this just didn't hit the same way that one did. So 4.5, still great. Still highly recommend it. Then the next book that I have that I finished is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This is all the goodness. Virgin Hero, Slow Burn, Friends to Lovers, Bree and Archer. And Archer is deaf after something that happened when he was young. But he can't talk at all. Like, he can't make any sounds. Something happened to his voice box, but he can sign. And he can like read lips, so he knows what people are saying. And so Bree had something tragic happen to her, and she comes to this town of Pelion, and there she meets Archer, who's a loner hero. Like, people in the town don't like him. They think something's wrong with him, but really it was just the way he was raised. And 5 stars. It was beautiful. I absolutely adored this book. Then I finished Not My Match by Elsa Madden Mills. This was Devin and Giselle. It's a new adult sports romance. Giselle's life is kind of falling apart after she caught her fiance cheating on her, and something's happening with school, and then her house burns down and she has to go and stay with Devin, who is her sister's husband's best friend and teammate. And of course, things are gonna happen. So I gave it 4 stars because it just felt like it was a little on the generic side. And when you see another sports romance that I read with a virgin heroine later in the month, you're gonna see that this one really probably is more like a 3.5 star because that one just outshines. But it was cute, it was fun, I had a good time reading it, but it didn't blow me out of the water. It didn't do anything new and exciting. Then I read Savage Hearts by J.T. Geisinger. This is the 3rd book in the Queens of Monsters series. This follows Riley, who is Sloane from Colonel Urge's sister, and they have like a very tumultuous relationship. And then Malik has put a hit out on Declan. He wants to kill Declan because of something Declan did, and he goes to the compound to kill Declan, and he discovers Riley, and he thinks that she is a prostitute. And then he learns that she is not, and he may or may not take her. And they may or may not fall in love. But it was super fun. I adored it. I love this series. The audios for this series are top notch. Absolutely adore them. 5 stars for this one as well. Then I read Untouchable by Sam Mariano. I still don't know how I feel about this book. It's been a week and a half since I finished this book, and I still don't know whether I love it or I hate it. At the end of the Romance Takeover Readathon, Jen asked people what like their favorite book of the week was, and I said that Untouchable was mine because even though I didn't rate it, it's still like it's stuck in my brain. Like it is a book that I will never forget. It's painful, it's hopeful, it makes you look at a psychopath in a completely different way. I don't even know. I don't know how Sam Mariano makes you root for Carter Mahoney while also wanting to chop his dick off. Like, it is just... Ugh. Carter and Zoe's relationship is just so insane, and Carter is very controlling. And this book is not for everyone. Like, it 100% is not a book that I will probably ever really even recommend, because, like, it's not going to be for everyone. I really, like I said, I still don't know if I love it or I hate it. I don't know if I enjoyed it or it was like a car crash and I just couldn't look away. But, I mean, I could talk about this book forever and ever and ever. But yeah, I still have not rated it because I don't know if it's 5 stars or if it's 1 star. But like, I don't know. I'm leaning more towards it being 5 stars just because of how much like it still sticks with me. Like, I remember so much about that book. Like, every detail about that book is like burned in my brain. But it is not going to be for everybody. Do you know Carter Mahoney assaults Zoe in the 3rd chapter of the book? Like, he like does some really horrible stuff. He sexually assaults her in the beginning of the book, and he is the hero of the book. And it's a romance, so they have an HEA. So just know that it's not going to be for everybody, and you are going to at times root for him, and then at other times you're going to want Zoe to gut punch him. So, I mean, yeah, it is insane. Then the next book that I finished was a lot more lighthearted. I read Bulky by Jessica Kane. This is just a novella, age gap. It's one of her big boy heroes, Josie and Gunnar. Gunnar is Josie's best friend's dad, and he's since Josie turned old enough, he's noticed her, and she starts wearing really short little tiny skirts and just wants to get all up under him, and things happen. And of course, I mean, it's going to be an explosive good time. So, I mean, it's a novella. Like, it didn't do anything special. I gave it 4.5 stars. It wasn't anything special, but it wasn't a terror. Like, I had a great time reading it. I've read worse, but I have read better also. Then I finished Dead Man Walking by Jenna Darling. This is the 6th book in the Fallen Men series. This follows Bia and Priest, and it is, again, a psychopath. And B is like this, like, she's not HR. She's Lulu's sister from Dead Man Walk, or from Welcome to the Dark Side. And she grew up obviously in the same house as Lulu and went through all of the things that Lulu had to go through in Welcome to the Dark Side. So you kind of see her growing up throughout the series. She starts off, I think in the first book, she's only like 13. So you see her grow throughout the series and like everything. So it is the 6th book in a series. I mean, it can be read as a standalone, but do know you will be spoiled for other stuff in the past books. And this one had a crazy plot. I feel like this plot was more separate from like what was happening in like the rest of the MC books, even though everyone says that HR's book is very separate because HR is somewhere else. Her book, like what happens in her book kind of directly correlates to what's happening with the Fallen, but I feel like B's storyline is very separate. Like what happens with her is specifically targeting her and not the motorcycle club. So I don't know, but I still really loved it. I give it 5 stars. Then I read The Stopover by T.L. Swan. This is the first book in the Miles High series. I read it because I really just want to read The Takeover. Plus, this is Rye from Rye's Reading Corners, her group book for her Patreon. So, and it's on Kindle Read and Listen. So I read it because I do really just want to get into The Takeover. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll happen this month, but next month for sure. And yeah, this is Jameson and Emily. It's a one-night stand turned to more. Jameson sucks. Like, I was not a fan of him. He says some really messed up stuff. The way he treats Emily, I don't think he did enough groveling. But I had the steam was there. Emily was fantastic. Like, she was an awesome heroine. So I gave this book 4 stars. But yeah, I was not a fan of Jameson. So I'm hoping, because I know a lot of people, like, you either love Jameson or you love Tristan. And so I'm hoping, since I didn't love Jameson, I love Tristan. Because I know, like, Jen from the book reviews, that is like her favorite book of all time. So I'm excited to get to it. Then I read Torn Apart by Nikki Ash and Kay Webster. And this is like a why choose MFMM polyamorous relationship with 3 men and 1 female, and they are all, well, okay, they're not together in this one. But this one was, you meet the characters Ashton, Mia, Brayden, and Drew. Ashton is the dean of the school. He is his son, and he is openly gay, but he has a best friend named Mia, who one night they get drunk and they make out and they decide, wait, maybe, and Ashton's like, maybe I'm not fully gay. Like, maybe I'm bi for you type of thing. Mia is obviously in love with Ashton, her best friend. She knows he's gay, but she just can't deny her attraction to him. One night she meets at a bar a guy, and they don't have sex, but they hook up, and then something happens and she leaves. And that guy ends up being Drew, who ends up being Ashton's roommate, because he is the new hockey coach for the college that they go to. And he ends up like with finding one of his old best friends, Brayden. It's a whole big web of insanity. And even though I didn't finish it next, I'm just gonna talk about it. I also read Bound Together. So it's like the Torn and Bound duet. I read another book in between, but I'm just gonna talk about it together. And in that, they realize, so Drew and Brayden are a couple, and then Mia and Ashton are a couple, but then they realize that the 4 of them together make a lot more sense than the 2 separate couples. So it was great. I really enjoyed it. I gave both 4.5 stars. I don't really remember why I gave them 4.5 stars, but I think there was just like, the first one was lacking in a little bit, and then the second one, I felt like it all kind of wrapped up really fast. But yeah, it was a fantastic duet. I'm hoping to buy them for Wanderlust, because Nikki Ash will be at Wanderlust. So, and then I own a book of hers, but it's already signed. So, I mean, I could take it and have it personalized, but it's not really a favorite. So I actually think I might sell it on Pengo and buy the Torn and Bound duet, because I did really love it. and I'll get that one signed. So, yes. Then I also, in between those two, I read Once Upon a Winter's Eve. This is a novella in the Spindle Cove series by Tessa Dare. This is Violet and Christian. It's kind of a second chance romance. Violet lives in Spindle Cove. She it has been ruined, so she went to move to Spindle Cove, and she was ruined by a man who shows up and has amnesia, or so you think. And he ends up being the person that she was ruined by, and of course they're going to get together. It was a novella. It was really short. Not a lot happened. I think it was like a 2.5-hour novella on audio, so not very long. But I always wanted to read it because I'm reading all of Tessa Dare's Spindle Cove series, and I just decided to pick it up because I wanted to pick it up at that time. I felt like I needed a break after finishing Torn Apart before going into Bound Together. I needed like just a quick break, not like a full long time. I just needed a quick little palate cleanser. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was 4 stars, nothing spectacular. Like I said, it's a novella, so not a lot happens, goes on. I actually talk about that in my Pick-Pongathon vlog, which I will link up here, because that should be out before this comes out. And I talk about it a little bit more there and have more concise thoughts. Then the next book that I finished was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This was for the Officially Unofficial Book Club, which is Mel from Melanor Reads, Rye from Rye's Reading Corner, and Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. It's their like book club that they do on the Late Night Crew Discord, and we discuss spoilery thoughts in there, and then we do like live shows where we do reading sprints where everyone reads it. I listened to it on audio. If I wouldn't have listened to it, I probably would have DNF'd it. I just felt like a lot happened, but not a lot happened at the same time. The ending was very underwhelming. So I gave it 3.5 stars, and I actually rounded it down on Goodreads, whereas a lot of times I'll round up. But I rounded it down just because after like, I mean, it was a fantasy novel, and it was fun, and it wasn't like, I didn't feel like I wasted time listening to it, but I couldn't tell you a ton of what happened. Like, it was just very fairy tale-esque. But yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars. I want to read another T. Kingfisher fantasy that Riley from Riley Marie talked about. I have to look at what it's called. I don't remember, but it sounds really good, even better than this one. Then I read The Office BFFs by Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey. I realized in my TBR Uno game, I called them The Office Ladies. That's their podcast. This is the book that was like directly related to their podcast that they wrote after starting the podcast. But basically, Jenna Fisher played Pam on The Office, and Angela Kinsey played Angela on The Office, and they just talk about their time on The Office and like becoming best friends and everything that they went through together. And it was fantastic. It was really good. Shocking, like it made me cry. Like there were just moments that I was like, oh my God, so sweet. But yeah, I had a great time with it. I gave it 5 stars, of course. That is also in my Pick-Pongathon vlog. Then I finished Blindside by Candy Steiner. I am so glad that I gave Candy Steiner Sports Romance a second try. I was not going to after reading Fair Catch, and because I didn't really love it, but I read Blindside, and oh my gosh, this book was, so Blindside has the like teach me trope, which is one of my favorites. Like I eat that up like catnip. Like I love that trope. If you have any books that have that, please let me know. I need more recs. But I love the teach me trope. And so it's fake dating. It has the teach me trope, like sports romance. It's like all of the things. The only thing that's missing is an age gap. Like if you have an age gap with the teach me trope, that's a sports romance. And yeah. Grumpy Sunshine even. Give it to me. Oh, and fake dating. I need the fake dating. Yeah, if you got one of those, let me know. I need to read it now. But yeah, it had the teach me trope. It's Clay and Gianna, and Clay is known, Clay is the safety for the NBU football team, and Gianna is like the PR person. And Gianna knows that she can trust Clay to give a good interview, so she picks him to do an interview preseason, and he completely bombs it. He's horrible. He's awful to the interviewer. And she goes and asks him like, hey, what is up? And finds out that his girlfriend of like 5 years broke up with him, and he's heartbroken. So they meet up and they discuss this, and he notices that she kind of has a crush on this musician. So they decide to kind of fake date to make his ex jealous and fall in love with him again, and for her to get noticed by this musician. Well, of course, when you do stuff like that, you're going to fall for each other. This book was so good. I laughed, I cried, I swooned, I got some. It was such a good book. Like, please read it. It will probably be on my favorites of the year. I say that every wrap up pretty much, but I absolutely adored this book. So good. 5 stars if you didn't guess. Then I finally finished The War of Two Queens by JLA. Yeah, I gave this book 3 stars. It took me almost 3 weeks to read it, which is ridiculous for me. I mean, I have no problem like getting through a 600-page book in like 1 or 2 days. Like I've done, I mean, Dead Man Walking, I think it's like 550 something pages, and I read it in a day. It took me 3 weeks almost to read The War of Two Queens. Now I know I wasn't just reading it, I was reading other things. I would stop reading it, but I wasn't interested in it. I want to finish the whole series, but I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna wait until they're all out, because I read the first 3 back to back to back to back, and I loved them. I gave them all 5 stars. I had a great time, and then I had to wait like a year to read the 4th one, and I waited, and I had to wait to get the library book, and I didn't love it the way that I thought I would, and so I gave it 3 stars. It'll probably end up being one of my most disappointing reads. It just took me way too long to get through it. So I'm hoping like maybe when I go back and if I do this again and reread them, I end up falling in love with it again, this series again, because just right now I'm not. So, but yeah, it's the 4th book in the From Blood and Ash series, so I can't really talk about it too much, but it's Kaz and Poppy. The scene that everyone wanted to happen happened. It was very underwhelming to me. I was expecting a whole lot more. I know people are like up in arms about that scene happening at all. I was rooting for it and wanting it. And yeah. So I gave it 3 stars. Then I read Simmer by C.G. Burnett. This is for authors that are going to Wanderlust. I'm trying to read some of those to see if I want to purchase the books to take with me. The cover of this is absolutely gorgeous and stunning, and that's why I read it, because I was like, oh, if this book is great, I'm gonna buy it because it's beautiful. The book was okay. I gave it 4 stars. It didn't do anything special. It's a novella, or it's not really a novella, but it's a very short novel. Like, it's only like 191 pages. So like a long novella, a short novel. But it, like, the author was trying to do too much in such a short amount of time. And there was just like plot points happening all over, and I felt like nothing other than the main relationship got tied up in the end. And I don't know, I need to look. I still haven't looked. If it's like a series, and maybe that will, you know, if there's more in this series, because there's a lot of characters that you meet, so maybe there is. But this was Bethany and Gideon, and Bethany wins a cooking competition and has to move to New York, and she wants Gideon to go with her, and he's like, no, I can't. I have to stay here to take care of my mom. Well, 3 years have gone by, and Bethany decides that, or Bethany has to go back to Savannah for something, and she decides that she needs to see Gideon, and they need to figure things out because they miss each other so much. So it's second chance romance, kind of a slow burn. I don't know. I gave it 4 stars. It was cute. It was fun. Again, because it's such a short book, I tend to not, like, I'm not going to rate that down because of it being short, but like, I felt like this book could have used like 100 more pages, and it would have been great. And it still wouldn't have been that long. I mean, it would have only been like 300 pages. So maybe there are more. That's the other reason. I need to look at it. If there are more in the series, I might keep it at 4. If there's not, then I might lower it. Because yeah, it was fine. Then the last book that I have finished this month so far this month is Never Judge a Lady by Her Cover by Sarah McLean. This is also in my Pick-Pongathon vlog. I have the gorgeous step back, and this is a This is Duncan West, who is like so this is the 4th book in the like Rules for Scoundrels series. And so you figure out who the enigmatic owner Chase is, and Duncan West, who is the writer, he is determined to find out who Chase is because Chase is taken from everyone, and he meets Lady Georgiana, and he thinks that she is owned by Chase. I can't say much more because it would spoil like one of like, it's a great end to it. But yeah, I had a good time. I give it 4.5 stars. Yeah, 4.5 stars. This is probably my 2nd favorite book in this series. I'd probably go The Earl Takes All is my favorite. That also has Teach Me Trope. Then Never Judge a Lady by Her Cover. Then the whatever the first one is, The Duke by Any Other Name or whatever, and then the last one, or the 3rd one, I can't remember what those 2 are called. But yeah, those are my 19 books. But we are going, did participate in the Romance Takeover Readathon. Vlog was linked earlier. Pick Pongathon. That's the whole month of August, but I just did 1 week because it's too much of a mood reader to have that many, and I rolled 5 times, or I did a random number generator 5 times, which gave me 5 picks, and I didn't have to do any extras, so I just went with those 5, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make it like a week-long vlog. Now we're going to go over my Uno prompts. Some of these have changed from my original Uno TBR. I could go finish, I still have time to finish those books, but I have completed most of these prompts. Self-Made Man, I finished. That is Never Judge a Lady by Her Cover. It's for Self-Made Man. Last Letter, First Letter, when I finished The War of Two Queens, I started Simmer. So S and S, Last Letter, First Letter. Matches outfit I have not completed. I either have to read Corrupt Kingdom, which matched my outfit the day that I filmed, or I have to read a book that matches my outfit the day that I read it. And I have not gotten to that yet. Favorite trope, Sinner is an age gap. That is my favorite trope. I had originally picked Beauty and the Baller, which is sports romance, as my 4 favorite trope, because I do love sports romances. I could still read that. I just know that I have technically completed it. Audiobook, I've listened to many audiobooks, but I listened to A Lady for a Duke. That was an audiobook. I don't remember what my original plan was for it. I actually think I think I had talked about doing The Governess Game, but I have listened to an audiobook. Fake Dating, for this, I was going to use A Week to Be Wicked. I still have to read that, so I still probably could use it, but I did read Blindside, which is a fake dating romance. So this might be done twice this month. Novella, I have read 2. I read Bulky and I read Once Upon a Winter's Eve. So 2 novellas. And my book club book, I read Nettle and Bone, which is the officially unofficial book club. I still want to read, I mean, now I could also use my book club book for it because I am not going to use it for fake dating. And I still could read Does It Hurt by H.T. Carlton, which is the Out of Bounds book club pick. But yeah, that is all I have for now. Those are my 19 books and how I'm doing on my Uno TBR. I really only have 1 left to do, so I'm kicking butt. But yeah, that is all I have for now. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps me out. I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye!